¡Justicia! ¡Queremos justicia! ¿Cuándo? ¡Ahora! ¿Cuándo? ¡Ahora! ¿Cuándo? ¡Ahora!
I want to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. I want to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. Just to begin, obviously there's a lot more people than chairs. So one thing that we want to ask is if there are any young, able-bodied people who see older, less able-bodied people standing around, can you offer up your chair? Or if you're sitting next to a chair that's empty, can you point that out so we can have as many people?
There's more chairs over here.
Also, we have an announcement about translation.
Yeah, take these right here.
I'm an activist with Communities United Against Foreclosure and Eviction. This meeting is a project of a joint coalition between Communities United, the Chicago Anti-Eviction Campaign, and Central Autonomous from Albany Park. I just wanted to open the meeting with a few brief remarks to explain why we have gathered people here today. I'm going to hand it over after that to JR from the Anti-Eviction Campaign, and then we're going to open up with a discussion where you're going to hear directly from homeowners, tenants, public housing residents about what the impact of the housing crisis in Chicago means on a day-to-day basis on the ground. Just today, if people didn't see, the Chicago Tribune is reporting that another 7,500 properties began the foreclosure process this past June, in July, which is a 37% higher increase than a year ago. In the Chicago metropolitan area, last year, more than 118,000 homes had gone into foreclosure. And so you can imagine 1 year later, given that number, the worsening impact of this foreclosure crisis. A crisis that has been fueled by greed, economic and racial injustice, is threatening to unravel communities and neighborhoods across the city. That's right. Half of the homes in Black and Latino communities are underwater, meaning that they owe more on their mortgages than the homes are actually worth. And this is for two reasons. One is that the economic crisis in this country has hit Black and Latino communities disproportionately. In the United States, Black unemployment is 14%, unemployment for Latinos is 11%. Today in Chicago, Black unemployment is 32%, or 32% of African Americans are living in poverty in this city, and 23% of Latinos live in poverty in this city. So while yesterday Mayor Emanuel was bragging about the, quote, booming economy, many people, almost 2/3 of the people in the city have been left behind. And because of that, mortgage and rent has become increasingly difficult to keep up with. And we know that there are also, it's not just the economic crisis, but we also know that the disproportionate number of foreclosures and evictions are happening in African American and Latino neighborhoods because these neighborhoods were targeted by the banks for expensive. And it is a combination of these factors that has led to what can only be described as a housing catastrophe in this city. And home-grown foreclosures are just the tip of the iceberg. Many of the properties going into foreclosures are small buildings that are located in working-class communities of color. And so it, too, is contributing to this crisis. According to a report by the Lawyers Committee for Better Housing, in the last 3 years, almost 20,000 buildings have gone into foreclosure, affecting more than 50,000 units, apartments within Chicago alone. And as a result, 24 of 25 Chicago community areas are facing rental housing instability are in Black and Latino neighborhoods. Why? Because when the banks take over these properties, they flout the laws that are put in place to protect tenants. They tell tenants they have to move, they refuse to keep up repairs, to force and pressure people out, they refuse to return security deposits, which makes it difficult for people to move, so on and so forth. And so, finally, given the growing levels of housing instability and insecurity for ordinary people across the city, one may think that now is the time to expand publicly subsidized housing, the housing so-called of last resort. Well, not here in Chicago. Instead, public housing officials let units go into disrepair, and so as the housing crisis grows in Chicago, evidenced by the fact alone that 40,000 people are on waiting lists for public housing units or Section 8, the 1 in 5 of the city's 21,000 public housing units sit empty. This is most tragically demonstrated at the Labor Homes, one of the oldest public housing developments in the U.S., which sits at only 18% capacity. Not because there is not a desperate need for housing, but because Chicago wants to get out of the public housing business, and especially a public housing development that borders the trendy Logan Square neighborhood. So this is the broader context within which we have called people here together tonight to address the policymakers, the policy setters, and the...
Preckwinkle, give us a one-year moratorium. It wouldn't be the first time, it wouldn't be the second time, it would be the third time. But what I'm told, the third time is the charm.
Third is always
You fulfill the duties of your office and be a lucky charm for the people to ensure that there is protection to the human right to housing. This is necessary. We want a moratorium. We want it now.
Okay, we are going to get started. Our first speaker, and just so people know, we've got translation, and we've got many speakers here tonight. So we're going to ask people to stick to 2 minutes, sort of view this as a hearing-style meeting where it's long enough to say a couple of things about your particular case, but we have several speakers, so we want to be able to give as many people an opportunity to speak as possible, including people in the audience. So if I start to wrap you up, it's not because what you were saying is not incredibly important, it's because we want to be able to get as many people as possible to speak. So our first speaker among the homeowners is going to be Maria Dolores.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Gracias a todos por venir. Esta es mi casa, aquí me quedo. This is my house. I'm going to stay in my house. I got this house in 13 years, and I've tried to get a modification from the bank. But lawyers are so bad with me and with everybody who wants to get a modification. I want to say and to ask to the sheriff to please consider our good problem. Thank you so much to COAFE and to anti-eviction campaign to help me to open my eyes and to teach me how to fight and how to stay in my house. Long time ago, I suffered a very big situation. We lost a house. We moved to Texas. And over there, the lawyers tricked us. And the police took our house because it was a mistake. When we came back to Chicago, one of my sons went out on the street. My other son left the school. Since that time, me and my ex-husband have a lot of problems. And now I'm divorced. I want to ask the sheriff to please no foreclosure for me and for nobody, because many can suffer the same situation as me. Now I want to stay in my house. I want my grandchildren to grow in a safety place. I'm a good neighbor. My neighbors know me since 30 years, how I'm fighting and working for keeping my house. Now I am a teacher and a director of a senior center, and I see how the children come with aggressive behavior and depression. And the children come and told us how is the situation in the house, how the families fight between father and mother about that they are locked in their house, that they don't have money to pay mortgage. It's very sad. I invite everybody, even to the sheriff and to Mr. Tong, that how many problems we see with the children. Come and see how the children develop aggressive behavior and depression. It's very sad. I'm not lying. Come and see. It's very sad when you hear children say, oh, my mom was crying, my daddy was angry, he hit her because my mom wants more money, my dad had no money to pay the mortgage. It's true. And thank you so much for the coalition, cooperative, and the eviction campaign to teach me to fight, to stay in my house. I'm not moving. I'm going to stay.
But they have the loan to the house. One thing I did do is make a report and I would start like that. And they told me to redo some of my paperwork for the court. I redone it. It's been like over a year and they didn't come back to court. They have filed false documents. Yeah. They have filed assignments. They have did all these false documents for over 5 years, but nobody is answering to the questions of why they are allowed to do this. Right. First of all, if they had what the sister take my house, they took it the first year and they claimed it. Second of all, why do they have the right? They claimed that they had assignment to my property. Come to find out, it was a legal document. Why are they still in court? Why are they allowed to? If I had bought one legal document into that courtroom, I'd have been in jail. Why are they allowed to keep coming in court, taking me to court year after year? And right now, they gave me a modification, and I paid that modification for 10 months. 10 months, they came up with this excuse, oh, that wasn't a modification, here's your money back. What? I'm like, what is this all about? The second thing was, once they gave me my money back, then they went back to court to get me out, and the judge said, redo my application. I redone it. Do you just think they came back right to court? No. They said they come back to court October 2nd. But they was allowed all this time to go falsify some more documents. When in the courtroom say, look, either come in with what you're supposed to have, or get out. Don't just give your house, make them say they own it. Make them say they own your home. If they ain't got the right documents, then they'll court. We have a right as humans. We don't want to elect these people to these positions. Yeah. We want to elect these people. Why are they fighting against us, the people that put them in these we need to do is time down. My case is one of the cases in this system that really needs to be looked at. I know the whole problem from day one. $1 million for a $267,000 loan. If that's the way that's supposed to go, you need to, I need to set up an appointment with you so you can go to what I'm talking about.
All right. Okay, next is Virginia Morales. Is next.
My parents, Lucio and Lilia Morales Martinez and family, have lived in our house for 27 years. We are one more Latino family facing foreclosure in the Hermosa community. My 5-year-old son, Daniel, asked me, where are we going to live if we lose the house? Will I still go to the same school? These are the questions that I ask myself. Those of you that are not in foreclosure, can you for one moment imagine how devastating and frustrating it is to be going through this? My parents were pre-qualified by city mortgage on September of 2009, verbally, not in writing. They were given a trial period and they had to make 3 payments in the amount of $1,069.52. They were going to decide whether or not they qualified for a modification. City mortgage accepted payments beyond the agreement. They accepted payments for a total of 11 months. All of the payments were made on time. However, the modification was denied because of missing documents. On February of 2011, City Mortgage decided to start the foreclosure process.
That's why I was backing
However,
up.
a second attempt for a modification
Here, go
was
in
made
front
on
of me.
October of 2011. Each time I received emails about documents they needed from us, I would not fax email these documents to them. However, in February of 2012, the modification was denied due to missing documents. We were told to wait for 3 months and reapply all over again. How many times do people have to apply for a loan modification? How many times? That's my question. Then, have homeowners go through a loan modification process while continuing to propose and auction the home at the same time? My parents have asked City Mortgage for a good faith negotiation. My parents applied once again for a loan modification on May of this year. After being ignored for a month, we heard from them, but now it's now August and we're still waiting for a response. While going canvassing around my neighborhood along with other members of Communities United Against Foreclosure and Eviction, we came across homeowners indicating the same story my parents are going through. Banks are totally ignoring families. They claim they don't receive documents, they don't receive the faxes. And it's weird because they never answer the phone. They don't return phone calls at all. They don't care about the communities that are being destroyed by having empty houses. It is frustrating and devastating to see the banks rather have the houses be demolished instead of really helping those people and problems with the housing crisis. It's time to wake up and realize that this only leads to homelessness here in Cook County. We need a moratorium since loan modifications do not work for most people as well as for certain government programs. Other procedures have to be taken, such as a modest refinance program, mandate principal reduction in interest. This would really be beneficial for everyone going through housing crisis, but also for the banks. Regardless of who is responsible for this housing crisis, the damage is done, and now we have to look for a solution. This is why we need a 1-year moratorium. Lisa Morales Martinez family will not leave our house.
That's right.
Housing is a human right. Fight, fight, fight. 'Cause housing is a human right. Fight, fight, fight. 'Cause housing is a human right. Fight, fight, fight.
Next we have Vicente Gutierrez.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Eugenio.
Buenas tardes.
Pues ayudo a
Good afternoon. My name is Vicente Gutierrez, and I live in 5111 North Avery.
Hold the mic.
Louder, he's talking away over there.
Estoy en esta ciudad hace 22 años.
I've lived in this house for 22 years.
There you go.
Hace 18 años que estoy en esta casa.
I've been in this house for 18 years.
Tengo 4 años con problemas por problemas de salud.
I've had 4 years with problems. I've had health problems.
Los problemas que tengo han sido porque trabajé duro
The reason why I have problems is because I work very hard
para poder levantar esta casa porque
so that I can start this home.
compré una casa vieja de más de 100 años.
Because I bought a very old home that was more than 100 years old.
Traté de levantarla, invertí todos mis ahorros en esta
And I put
casa
all my savings into this house.
y ahora el banco la quiere vender por la mitad de lo que yo debo.
And now the bank wants to sell it for half than what I owe on the loan.
Yo considero que no es justo
I think that this is unjust.
y lo único que estoy pidiendo es que me den la oportunidad de restablecerme un poco para poder seguir pagando.
And the only thing that I'm asking for is they give me a little bit of time so I can reestablish myself.
Pero yo creo que a ellos no les interesa.
But I think that doesn't interest the bank.
A un vecino mío que le metió 50,000 pesos a su casa, le quitaron su casa y la tumbaron.
A neighbor of mine who had invested $50,000 in their house, they took the house away and they knocked it down.
Considero que esas actitudes de los bancos no son justas.
I think that these actions aren't just.
Porque los que venimos a trabajar y a luchar con un sueño
Because the people who come to fight and work for a dream
para la familia
for their families,
y que ellos han cobrado eso cuando esta economía se vino para abajo,
and they're the ones who have been hit hard ever since the recession hit.
mucha gente ha tratado de levantar sus casas
A lot of people have tried to lift up their homes,
y el banco ha cobrado las casas porque tenía un seguro que nosotros hemos pagado anteriormente.
and the bank has got the money from the insurance that the people paid on their homes.
Y de todas maneras, ellos siguen siendo los dueños
And then they keep on continuing to be owners of their homes,
y no nos dejan hacer nada.
and they don't let us do anything.
Y lo único que estamos pidiendo es que nos dejen vivir en las casas que ya hemos pagado.
And the only thing that we're asking is that we can live in our homes in which we have paid.
¿Qué queremos? ¿Qué queremos?
¡Justicia!
¿Cuándo?
¡Ahora!
¿Qué queremos?
¡Justicia!
¿Cuándo?
¡Ahora!
¿Cuándo?
Mary Finelli.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My name is Mary Ann Bonelli. I live at 2334 North Mason. I am 76 years old, and I'm dying of cancer.
Wow.
But that is not the reason why I'm here today. The reason is for me to tell you the Fifth Third Bank is trying to take my house away from me. My grandparents bought this house in 1921. We're the third generation in this house. We moved here in 1958. The house is in foreclosure. It will be upsetting for me and my tenants who live upstairs to be evicted or whatever you want to call it. The bank never told us we were in foreclosure. They took the money and ran, you know. They never let us know anything. I hired a lawyer. My lawyer, whatever, he dumped me. I want to stay in my home. I like the neighborhood. I like the area. Housing, transportation is good. Churches are good. Shopping is good. So I feel we should put a moratorium at least for a year on this. At least. By the way, I'm a senior citizen and a widow.
Fight! Housing is a human right! Fight! Housing is a human right! Fight! Housing is a human right! Housing is a human right!
Good night and thank you.
Gracias a todos por haber venido a esta reunión.
Good evening. My name is Marcia Itza, and thanks for coming tonight to this meeting.
Quiero compartir mi historia quiero compartir mi historia por qué estoy perdiendo la casa.
I want to share with you the history of why I'm losing my home.
soy una víctima de violencia doméstica,
I'm a victim of domestic abuse.
al mismo tiempo estoy siendo víctima de abuso de los bancos.
At the same time, I'm a victim of abuse from the bank.
Estoy cansada de eso.
I'm sick of that.
No quiero ser, hoy por hoy voy a ser una sobreviviente del abuso de los bancos y lo vamos a lograr.
We're going to survive the abuse of the banks today.
Todo ha empezado cuando mi ex esposo maliciosamente dejó de contribuir, dejó de pagar.
It all started when my husband stopped paying
El mortgage de la casa.
the mortgage of the house.
Inmediatamente contacté al banco Wells Fargo para tomar acción en esto.
And immediately I contacted Wells Fargo to take this up.
La respuesta del banco fue, no tenemos nada que hablar contigo.
The
Tú
bank
no
said-
eres la dueña no constas en el préstamo.
The bank said, we don't need to talk to you. You're not on the loan.
Les he explicado que yo estoy en el título.
I explained that I'm on the title.
No han dado oídos a mis súplicas.
And they didn't want to listen to me.
Sin embargo, he tomado todas las alternativas que yo he considerado posibles.
Nevertheless, I've tried all the alternatives that I thought possible.
Nada ha sido escuchado.
And nothing was heard.
Finalmente encontré al Centro Autónomo,
Finally, I found Centro Autonomo.
quienes han sido la cabeza mía, quienes han sido los que me están ayudando en todo. Por eso estoy en la casa.
That have been my head, that have been my support. And that's
Hicimos una protesta frente a Wells Fargo.
why we did a protest in front of Wells Fargo.
Gracias a eso, logramos hablar con los ejecutivos de Wells Fargo y Fannie Mae,
And thanks to that, we were able to talk with the executives at Fannie Mae and Wells Fargo.
los cuales dicen y me proponen que consideran
The bank said, and they gave me an offer
venderme la casa nuevamente a mí,
to sell the house to me,
pero a un precio que es triple de lo que cuesta la casa
but
actualmente.
at a price that's triple of what the house is worth right now.
El abuso continúa,
The
no
abuse
para.
continues. It doesn't stop.
Les hemos respondido diciendo que no estoy de acuerdo con eso.
And I said I'm not okay with this,
No hemos escuchado más.
and I'm not gonna take it anymore.
Ellos continúan con el proceso del desalojo y yo no sé dónde voy a ir.
And they're continuing with the eviction. I don't know where I'm going.
Todo lo que quiero concluir diciendo,
So I want to conclude saying
recibí una carta, tengo 90 días
I
para
got a
desalojar
card
la casa.
saying that I have 90 days left in the house.
¿Dónde voy yo?
Where am I going to go? You go stay at home.
Stay home.
Stay at home.
Exijo una moratorium de 1 año.
I'm demanding a 1-year moratorium.
Nuevamente, señor
Again,
Dark,
Senor Dark,
¿dónde voy yo?
where should I go? Where should I go?
His house.
Coming over.
What do we want? Moratorium. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Moratorium. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Moratorium. When do we want it? Now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Buenas noches,
Buenas noches.
mi nombre es Silvia Vaca.
Good evening. My name is Yavaka.
Hi, Silvia. Hi, everyone. Now people know me because I was in an eviction. En el 2010 yo tenía una orden de eviction.
In 2010, I had an order of eviction.
Nos presentamos a la corte que fue noviembre 4.
And we went to court that was on November 4th.
Le doy gracias a Dios porque ahí encontré a dos personas que me animaron a luchar.
I want to say thank you to God because I found two people that animated me to fight.
Mis padres and Rory. Ellos me preguntaron, mis padres and Rory.
Chris, Carlos, and Rory.
Ellos me preguntaron si yo quería seguir luchando por mi casa.
They asked if I wanted to continue to fight for my home.
Yo les dije que si había manera.
And I said if there was a way, yes.
Esto me dio la decisión de quedarme en mi casa.
And for this, I made the decision to stay in my home.
Yo les dije que no me iba a salir.
I said that I'm not going anywhere.
Gracias al apoyo de Univisión, Telemundo.
Thanks for Univisión, Telemundo.
Y otras televisoras que estuvieron entonces.
And we asked for a moratorium in that time period, and he did it. The moratorium was for 2 months, and if we did it in that time, we can do it now.
Ahora mi hija va a hablar algo importante que sucedió en el transcurso de esta.
Now my daughter is going to say something important that happened during the time period of the foreclosure.
My mom cannot speak about this because she has signed contract with the bank. All right. But it doesn't. My name's just Toni, but it doesn't. Say anything about me not being able to talk.
All right.
That's right.
That's right. Exercise your First Amendment right.
Go for it. Freedom of speech, baby.
Leave our house, but we never did. We stood and fight. A lot of TV outlets came to our house to interview us. And on January the 13th, HSBC called my mom and told them that they wanted to work something out with her because she was making too much commotion and making them look bad.
Whoa!
And my mom told them that she didn't want to speak to them anymore, that they could contact her lawyer. And that's when they started making paperwork for us to keep our house.
All right.
At first they wanted to sell our house because at the original price that we had bought it for, which was $429,000, when it was really worth $100,000. And my mom turned down that proposal. So after that, in July of 2011, we won our house back for way less than what we had bought it for. All I want to say is that don't leave, stay in your house, fight.
Yeah.
Someday they'll have to.
Housing is a human right. Because housing is a human right. Because housing is a human right. Because housing is a human right.
Moratorium now. Before we transition is Pat Hill, who's also a member of the Chicago Anti-Eviction Campaign.
Good evening, Cook County Board President Preckwinkle, and Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart, and to all the people in the city of Chicago. My name is Patricia Hill. In 2009, Saxon Mortgage, the mortgage servicer for New York Mellon Bank, sent me a mortgage payment informing me that my new monthly mortgage payment would be increased by $500 per month. Upon making a telephone inquiry to Saxon, I was told I did not have homeowner insurance on my residence where I had been residing for 15 years. On that same day, after including my insurance agent and a section representative on a conference call, we were told the matter had been rectified. However, for the subsequent 3 months, the payment request from Saxon continued to reflect the $500 increase. I continued to make calls to Saxon and continued to send them my regular payment. After the third payment, Saxon returned my check and informed me that I was delinquent because I did not include the $500 amount in my payment per month. The representative informed me that I would have to pay an additional $5,000 to $7,000 lump sum payment to become current on my mortgage. I contacted HUD. Although I have a conventional 30-year mortgage, I thought at that time this was the agency to contact. HUD informed me that due to the fact I had a private mortgage, they could not help me but did put me in contact with Affordable Housing Centers of America to request a loan modification. After meeting the criteria for the loan modification, my counselor, Lucy Guy, submitted my request for a modification. After 6 months, Saxon denied my request. However, they directed me to make a direct request in-house from Saxon for the modification. After approximately another 3 to 6 months, they denied my request again, citing insufficient income. I had been paying my mortgage for 15 years. Subsequently, after being denied, I attempted to make contact with Saxon to ascertain why I was denied. All of my attempts were futile. In July 2011, I was contacted in person by an individual representing Chicago Realty Partners, who was the REO for Saxon, who knocked on my door checking on whether or not the property was occupied. Prior to that contact, I had no knowledge of the property being foreclosed. He informed me the property had been sold. It was later determined that my daughter, who has diminished mental capacity, had been served, not I. In August of 2011, I received notice for a court appearance pertaining to the sale, at which time Judge Sullivan approved the sale and gave me 75 days to vacate the premises. I immediately contacted all of my political representatives via letter seeking assistance in this matter. Attorney General Lisa Madigan's office, my alderman in the 3rd Ward, and State Representative Ken Duncan and the Chicago Anti-Eviction Campaign have provided me with continuing informational resources to date.
All right.
I began a process with Chicago Realty Partners to repurchase my home. Within the 3-month period of negotiating in what I believe to be in good faith, after an appraisal was conducted by Chicago Realty Partners President Arthur Sirignani, and communicating through the email, Cook County Sheriffs executed an eviction in March of 2012 at my residence of 17 years. As things currently stand, I remain in my home.
What do we want?
Moratorium!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Moratorium!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Moratorium!
When do we want it?
Now!
Having never relinquished possession, my tenants filed an order in Chancery Court stating that the eviction was unlawful and that they were not notified. In July 2012, the judge hearing the case struck the case from call. I support the demand for a 1-year moratorium on all foreclosures and evictions in the county of Cook. The bank that originally owned the loan on my property has subsequently sold it to another bank, and the servicer, Saxon, has gone out of business. The REO, Chicago Realty Partners, who was assigned by Saxon, formally withdrew any and all interest in the property where I reside.
When do we want it?
Now!
Gary, what do we want?
Moratorium!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Moratorium!
In terms of that, just to say, we haven't just brought people here to hear these stories. And I want to thank all the homeowners on the panel for presenting, but that we also called this meeting to make demands and to articulate that to negotiate with the anti-eviction campaign, one of the co-sponsoring organizations is going to articulate what the demands are.
Moratorium!
When do we want it?
What do we want?
Moratorium!
When do we want it?
Now!
So I want coming out here. Just to be clear, the folks who helped put this event together have 3 very clear demands. One, it's great that we're all here in this wonderful
Where's
space.
Preckwinkle?
We're all here. It's
Where
great
is
that
she?
we're all here in this wonderful space.
Waiting.
But
Please
then
turn it
the
out.
housing crisis is having a devastating impact on
Where's
our
these
community.
black elected
So we
officials?
want all the elected officials, Toni,
Where are they?
the various different Cook County commissioners, Anita Alvarez and Tom Dart,
There's a
to agree to do
Hispanic
community tours
commission.
where they
Where's
come
the
to our
black?
neighborhoods
Shut up,
and they can
you
see for ourselves what are the consequences
Why
of
we
the housing
won't
crisis.
stay.
So demand number 1, come through community tours. South side, west side, north side, what have you, east side. Come see what is actually going on, door to door, block to block.
There you go.
How does that sound? Demand number 2, as you can clearly hear from all the homeowners on the panel, we immediately need a 1-year moratorium on foreclosures and evictions. How does that sound? Demand number 3, because we know that one of the invited guests who's not here, Anita Alvarez, has posed as the roadblock in the past, actually getting a 1-year moratorium staying for a period of time. We need to put together a task force of community organizations, elected officials, and other stakeholders to work with us to get us to that moratorium as soon as possible, whether that's judicially, legislatively, or what have you. We need to agree. We need all the elected officials to agree to participate in the task force to make that possible. How does that sound? Another one of the invited guests. So we wanted to give Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart an opportunity to respond to those demands. And we still have several other guests, Toni Preckwinkle among them, who are still on their way here. So once they get here, they'll have an opportunity to respond to those demands as well.
When are they
So
going to
for the
come?
time being, we wanted to give Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart an opportunity to respond to those demands. How does that sound?
What do we want? Moratorium. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Moratorium. When do we want it? Now.
Thank you for coming, Tom Dodge. These other snakes didn't show up. Thank you.
Thank you.
At least he did show up. Thank you. Everybody jumping up everywhere.
Yeah, put Saul down and out. You know him.
Got to jump up.
Inviting me out here. Thank you for pulling this together. Thank you for shutting that off. I feel horrible for what I've heard already tonight. What I wanted to do, though, is to, in regards to some of the demands, unfortunately, demand number. Is this any better? These things aren't any good. I will try to project a little bit louder. Unfortunately, as to your first request, as far as touring, I unfortunately have toured every area that's been hit by mortgage foreclosures because I go out on mortgage foreclosures and I've seen firsthand the devastation to the neighborhoods from foreclosures. It's for that reason that I was the first sheriff in the country to stop foreclosures, not once, but twice. And the thing is it's been out there. I've seen the injustice. I've seen what's been going on out there. And for that very reason, we have completely altered our office from day one to where we're the first to have social workers who go out to the home to work with people. I have attorneys on staff whose sole purpose is to work with homeowners to tell them what their rights are, to figure ways to keep them in their homes. So we have done a lot. That does not mean we cannot do more, but we have done a lot. And when it came the second time, it came to my attention that the banks were up to their tricks. And they were doing things that we were talking about a few moments ago. Things that if we did, we go to prison. When they were phoning up documents routinely because they wanted to push foreclosures through so rapidly because they wanted to get this property back that they can't do anything with anyways, they were phoning up documents, the very thing that puts us in prison. So when the robo-signing was going on, I stopped all the foreclosures a second time. Once again, the first in the country to do that. When I did that, though, it was brought to my attention rather quickly that I was no longer going to be supported in my actions. And so I sought multiple legal opinions from the lawyer for the sheriff's office, which is the state's attorney's office, which on 2 separate occasions told me that I had to continue with the foreclosures. And so after an extended period of time of having the second moratorium, at that point I was required to go back into it. But what I said is, because I'm being forced to do the evictions again, I am not giving up on going after the banks and the people involved with them on a criminal level. So we opened up criminal cases against the people involved with all the fraud. We have made some progress, but I would be lying to you if I said, oh, these are easy cases. They have very, very well-paid lawyers. And whenever we would show up at the door to interview people who were involved with the forgeries, they would have very well-paid lawyers sitting next to them explaining to them that their client rights are such they don't need to talk to us. And so it makes it harder for me to get the case together. But we have not given up in pursuing those things. But the point I've been trying to make to people is, if you do have people who are committing any type of offense, if there's people who are committing fraud on you, if there's people committing illegalities, you need to call my office. We will open up a case within seconds. And they do have a tendency to listen to me a little more than other people at times. So the point I've been trying to make to people is, there has been no one who's been at the forefront of this issue in the governmental world more than me. Around the country, I'm acknowledged as the guy at the head of this. I want to continue to help you because what I think is going on out there is tragic and it should not continue. The problem is, I don't really want to make futile promises to people. And I feel very confident, as someone who's done a moratorium not once, but twice. I'm not like a talker. I'm an actor. I do things. But I also want to explain to you that there was a lot of legal pressure brought to tell me that I could not continue that. So whether or not there are county ordinances that can be changed, state laws that can be changed, whatever it can be, I need a little more support for me to continue to do some of the things I've been doing. So so at that juncture, I just want to leave you with one final note, and that is, I need you, if you have questions, you can call my offices at 773-674-7649. Yeah, and we'll have the number available to people who need it, so please call us at 773-674-7649. And as I said, feel free to call us. We have people specifically for this purpose there.
No, hold on. Okay, just so people know, Toni Preckwinkle is parking, so she'll be here in a couple of minutes. And so we wanted to make sure that the demands got out and are part of the discussion, but we also want to hear from tenants. We are very clear about not separating out the different ways in which this crisis is happening, separating tenants from homeowners from public housing residents. So we want to make sure to get those voices heard. So we've heard from Sheriff Dart. We want to hear from tenants who are affected by the housing crisis. Then after that, we'll hear from public housing tenants. We'll hear from you, and then Sheriff Dart, President Preckwinkle.
Good evening. In 2011, 4,477 apartment buildings went into foreclosure, affecting 13,814 rental units. I'm a single parent, starting my first year of law school in the fall. I've lived in Logan Square community for over 10 years. Currently, I'm a tenant in a foreclosed building. This process is extremely stressful. I've lived in this building for 4 years. My aunt and my cousins live in the building as well. We're 3 generations of single women striving to better our children's future. We do not want to separate and relocate. Crime statistics for 2012
show in Chicago 28,415 violent crimes and 120,000 property crimes, and the year isn't over. Protecting our neighborhoods is not just the responsibility of the police, it's the responsibility of the tenants, the residents, the homeowners, and everyone in the community. Neighbor alliances form a safety net for the children. In doing my research for this speech, I gathered information from the Chicago Crime Commission and Cook County Sheriff's website and learned that on our district, there were no burglaries or robberies in my block. However, there were 2 criminal trespasses and unlawful entries to abandoned and vacant buildings. We need to stop giving the banks the power to destroy our neighborhoods. This moratorium will hold the banks accountable for their part in destroying our neighborhoods.
That's right.
The building next door to us sold for $41,000 in a foreclosure auction, and an investor resold it for $350,000. We are gathering resources to purchase the property we live in. A 1-year moratorium will give us time to negotiate with the bank. We learned that it takes a village to raise a child, and these banks are destroying our villages.
They are.
Everyone in the neighborhood are mothers, sisters, community leaders, constituents, and we have the human right to housing.
That's right.
I demand, as our elected official for the people, a 1-year moratorium on evictions, and we're not moving, we're staying, and we're fighting. We want to acknowledge Cook County President Toni Preckwinkle is here.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
No.
Can you hear me?
Yeah!
Hi, my name is Patricia Scardina. I live and work and raise a family and grandchildren in Logan Square for the past 30 years.
Man.
I am a preschool teacher and on unemployment. I am facing eviction. The statistic on unemployment is 9.8 in the city of Chicago. I'm scared, and I'm scared for my family. I grew up on Halsted and North Avenue, which is Lincoln Park now, during the 60s through the 80s. My family got pushed out by what was called urban renewal, with the promise of us getting a better life. This is how I moved to Logan Square 30 years ago. In 1974, I was the first group of 18-year-olds allowed to vote legally. I exercised my rights, and I believe in democracy. I started campaigning for the then Cook County Board, George Dunn, and the up-and-coming young Jesse White. Jesse White used to visit my home as a young child. Many, many times. So I believe in democracy. I believe that then, and I believe that now. I believe as elected officials, you are to represent the people who put you in office. I demand a 1-year moratorium on foreclosures and evictions in Duke County. If government can bail out failing banks, so can our politicians bail out banks. I left my childhood home so many years ago. I go back and revisit. It's not the same. It's quote unquote yuppified. It's not. It doesn't have that home feeling no more. But you know what? Logan Square has that feeling, and I'm not leaving. I'm staying. I'm fighting.
What do we want? Moratorium! When do we want it? Now!
All right, next we have John Newman.
I want to start off by saying, simplify to everybody. For those that don't know what that means, it means always faith.
Amen.
All right.
I was in the United States Marine Corps, served this country, and did this country a great justice. I'm speaking on behalf of myself, other Marines, other veterans out there. If you was in the military and you served, I want this to be for you as well. I want everybody to know that when Miss Pat Hill was up here and she spoke about her tenant, I'm that tenant that she was speaking about. After serving my country, I came back here, got a job, working with the state, part-time, as a snowbird. Going out there, removing snow on this highway for this state. Come home one day, and some people is moving my furniture out of my home. Yeah, don't look like that, that's true.
In the wintertime.
In the wintertime. I did not get no eviction notice. I don't know what's going on. And when I went to court, you ain't gonna believe what they told me.
Get out.
I didn't exist there.
Whoa. So they lied.
Right. Absolutely.
Falsified documents.
Absolutely. Once again.
Falsified documents.
I didn't really prepare no speech for this. It's plain and simple.
Sounded like this.
Pat's not leaving. I'm not leaving.
All right.
I'm just saying something. Marine veterans, veterans alike, I'm sorry for the Army and everybody else, but all veterans fought for this country.
Yes.
If we didn't fight for this country, the banks wouldn't be able to put us out because they wouldn't exist.
What you got to say to Barack? He right there. Tell him on the phone. Tell Barack what you got to say.
Tell Barack.
Tell him to Barack.
Where it is?
We love you. I love you. We love you.
To Barack. I'll say it to you as well. You need to come and help us in Chicago change some of these laws. Protecting you. That military that's standing around you, protecting you, are the same people that you allowing to get evicted from their homes. That's right. Barack Obama. President Barack Obama. I know for a fact that you will do the right thing. Yes. I know this for a fact. In Chicago. Come here. We need your help. We need you now.
No house, no vote. No house, no vote.
No house, no vote. No house, no vote. No vote. No house, 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 no vote.
Thank you. Next we have Victoria Rivera.
Statistics show that frequent moves lead to
Hey, bring up the microphone. We can't hear her. Yeah. This is great. Yeah, give us the microphone so we can hear her.
We hear you.
Statistics show that frequent moves leave students 50% less likely to graduate. Uprooting children from the school causes negative social and academic behavior. My name is Victoria Rivera, and I'm a criminal justice student and a single mother of four. I was born and raised in the Logan Square area, and I'm currently living in a foreclosed building facing eviction. As soon as the foreclosure process started, the property owner disappeared, leaving me responsible for heating and electrical repairs. Why should other people's financial struggles affect my children's future? Children are the invisible and unheard victims of foreclosure and eviction. I believe that one-year moratorium will not only create a stable environment for our children to live in, but won't distract, unsettle, or confuse the children academically. After all, children are the future. The Mayor, Rahm Emanuel, and Superintendent McCarthy attribute the crime in our neighborhoods to gangs and drugs, when the problem starts in the household with stability, positive role models, and a tight-knit community. As the people, we demand a one-year moratorium from you, our elected officials, to help save our children's stability and future. I'm fighting for what I believe in and continue to fight to give my children a positive role model, and I am not leaving.
Housing is a human right. Because housing is a human right. Because housing is a human right.
Cummings. I'm the daughter of Sabrina Moore. We are now renters in a foreclosed house. We have been there almost a year. We have been fixing a lot. We kept the water and the light on. It took me 1 month to know everybody on my street. I've been helping people these past few months that are facing eviction because they helped us when we were getting evicted and going to be homeless. But thanks to my mom, she fought for us. It worries me because people are going to get pulled out on the streets with their family. Kids worry about things more than adults may know. The important thing for you to know is that kids are dropping out because they have to keep changing schools and depressed. Sheriff Thor, how would you like it if I come to your house and told you and your children you have to leave? Wouldn't you like some help? Hell yeah! Sheriff Thor and President Preckwinkle, can you please start a moratorium on eviction? Fight! Hell
Back then?